hear this mall's knocked down already. I hear we're under a pile of rubble as we speak.
This is a zombie mall for so many people.
This is a zombie mall.
Which is, again, since I was in high school, which is a long time ago now, University Mall's gone. It's gone. It's gone. But it won't go.
Right. And that perception is a challenge. If this was not a challenge, we wouldn't be having this conversation, EJ, right? If things were just all ducky over here, then nobody would be leaving their lease and nobody would be saying, oh, we're going to transfer this lease to this teeny tiny couple.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to On the Grid. My name is EJ Moreno, and on this show, we spotlight people who make the Tampa Bay area a bit better. I love my guest today. Oh, my goodness. Shana David-Massett, how are you today?
Well, how are you, EJ?
I'm just so excited to speak with you. So you run Sun Ray Cinemas up here at University Mall. How did this begin? How did you start your journey? What was your kind of early business adventure into this?
I started my journey in cinema exhibition at a little single screen theater in Jacksonville, Florida. I had gotten a part-time job there teaching musical theater in a magnet school, in a magnet middle school. It was my first experience with teaching. It was 20 hours a week and I loved it.
You have educator vibes, yes.
You know what, at Home Depot, people will say I give Miss Frizzle vibes. I'm just there.
I mean,
just there picking up stuff.
Iconic level, yes.
Yeah, really. I'm always like, thank you very much. I understand that as something of respect that you're trying to tell me. Anyway, so I did, and before I even knew I'd love teaching, I got this gig teaching, and it left lots of time free in my week. I'd always wanted to work in a movie theater. In high school, I applied to work at the movie theater, and I wasn't one of the cool kids that worked at the movie theater. And in college, I went to college in Boston, and I applied to work at the Brattle, this really cool theater, into the Coolidge Corner Theater, and I didn't get to work there. But while I was walking around my new neighborhood in Jacksonville, I saw this little single-screen theater that had a flyer in the window that they were playing Blue Velvet. And I'm new to Jacksonville. I'm checking it out. I'm like, you know what? This is a place I think I could be.
Yeah.
And so when I was looking for a part-time job, I went and I applied at that movie theater for a $6.25 an hour job working behind the counter at that movie theater. And I didn't get it at first either. Somebody else got the gig. And then the person who turned out to be who I'm opening Sunray with, right, here in Tampa, Tim, he was the manager of that place and said to the owner, maybe you should talk to that school teacher that you interviewed. I know she sounded like a lot, but we really need the help. And so the guy said, okay. And he brought me in. I got that $6.25 an hour job. And I met this guy, Tim. He had chosen Blue Velvet to play there. He was programming lots of films for him as well as managing. And I said, look at you, you're so fun. Look at this place is great.
I mean, you programmed Blue Velvet.
And lots of other things.
I mean, that would have won me over first day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right? So our first date was, we're closing up the theater together. And I was like, so where's a girl get a drink around here? Like that. And so we went out and he said he didn't know it was a date and like that. And I kissed him on the cheek. And then, and then we went on some more dates. And, over that period of time, I stopped working at that little teeny tiny movie theater. He kept working at that little tiny movie theater. At some point in our journey in 2008, it would be, he took a gig working for an organization called the Zeitgeist Arts Foundation. There's this guy who inherited a bunch of money in Duluth and he wanted to put it to good use, and he decided he's going to build an arts complex, including a movie theater. Did a nationwide search for somebody to program and help build out what was a parking garage into a movie theater.
Wow.
Tim, having had experience building at actually the very first Alamo Draft House in Austin, Texas, was a really good candidate for this.
Yes.
And so he took the gig. We moved to Duluth, Minnesota. We got married. And I helped with their the Duluth Homegrown Music and Arts Festival while I was up there and did some more teaching. And then this property became available in Jacksonville. It hadn't been a theater when we had lived there. It was a nightclub for a while, and it was closed for a very long while. And the fellow who had bought the building with the intention of running it as a movie theater realized very quickly that there are some elements about running a movie theater that are A, not like any other business, B, not like a business, and C, was just way out of his level of comfort. And so at that point, we took on a lease at that little single screen theater. We turned it into a 2-screen theater. I kept teaching for Duval County Public Schools for quite a long time, went down to part-time, and then became full-time Sunray every day in, that would be September of 2019.
Do you remember one of the first things you programmed?
So the first things that, I remember what we opened with. Tim opened with Melancholia and Human Centipede 3.
What a wonderful night at the cinema.
I could not say it better,
uplifting.
EJ. I could not.
Uplifting cinema
And
there.
So Melancholia is one of my favorite movies of all time, hands
Kirsten
down.
Dunst, yes.
But what really does have a place in my heart now, even though I cannot watch it because it's not my thing, is Human Centipede 3. I will never be able to watch it.
No.
Never, ever.
Not many people are, and I'm an extreme cinema fan. That was my bread and butter growing up, was nasty movies. That one I'm always like,
it's too nasty for you, EJ.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dirty Surgery. The first one, it's clean surgery. Not bad. It's gross, not bad. Dirty Surgery, no, I'm checking out.
Yeah, I get it. It's not my thing. And I remember, I do remember as far as early memories, like, because when we first opened, just like here, there's days where like, nobody's showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember a gentleman by himself for a screening of Human Centipede 3 and thinking how freaked out he must be alone in that room watching Human Centipede 3. But the first thing that we watched just by ourselves is one of our favorite movies. It's called Night of the Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And we watched that all by ourselves in that theater before it opened. And it was, so this theater that we were in was built in 1927. It's an old building. And I'll never forget, we saw a bat flutter behind the screen across as we watched, and we were like, okay, so what kind of craziness are we in for with this building? And so we spent 13 years in that building building up our business, because cinema exhibition has a high barrier to entry. You're not just like a little school teacher and a guy who programs movies for other people and you just open a movie theater.
Yeah.
That's not typically how it works. And so even to get into that space we were in took a lot. And then for that to grow in the way that it did, so that we have the space that we're talking right underneath.
Yeah, I remember hearing about Sunray because Florida has this, as much as we're an art state, we don't really have art cinemas. So I remember hearing about Sunray. I remember hearing about the Enzian in Orlando, and we have the Tampa Theater here. And it was just kind of this trifecta of like, the weird people went there in the best possible way. That's where we went to go see movies that maybe, like a Human Centipede, that won't, the local, multiplex aren't playing those.
But the trick is that just about everybody who likes to see weird movies, even my Human Centipede 3 fans,
Mm-hmm.
they also like to see Thunderbolts.
Mm-hmm.
They also like to see big, giant movies. They want to see The Accountant 2 too. And they want a place that they can go to see both of those movies and have the same experience, because the level of service that we bring to what we do is the same, whatever movie you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And so our goal was to provide that experience so that even if it's not an oddball movie, you still think of our place as a place to go.
We need that home as cinema fans. So I want to take you back before the business. Okay. So we'll touch back. We're in Jacksonville at that point. Put a pin in that. Education.
Yeah.
That was your background. That's your early music.
Yeah.
What were you like as a kid? Was movies, though, even a passion that you liked as a kid? Were you a running out the VHS kind of girl? Because I was. So what was your background with movies and art to get you to this point?
Okay, so it's so funny from over here. So as a little person, I was in front of the piano a lot, just making a lot of sounds with that piano. I went to Berklee College of Music to study vocal performance. I took that component of it very seriously. And I most certainly say, and this I feel like is true, if there hadn't been an option to study singing songs in college, I don't know that I would have gone to college, right? It just, I needed something that was not necessarily what I wanted to do as a career, although when I started, I thought maybe I'll sing some background vocals or something. I don't know. I just need to do something for the next 4 years that just engages me. And I was fortunate enough to have a family say, you need to do something for the next 4 years that engages you. But there was this in between.
So nice to have.
There's this thing in the middle that I keep thinking about, which is that when I had my bat mitzvah, right? I picked a theme and a color selection for the bat mitzvah, right? As bat mitzvah celebrants do.
Yes.
And I chose classic films, EJ. I chose black and gold and silver. And this nerd sat all her friends at the psycho table, because that was the table that I decided, because we named each of the tables after the movie. And so, like, I look at that, and I wonder if my friends and family look at that. And then, movies was early. I went to a program over the summer in high school to study film at NYU, and I was really excited about it. It was at a point in my life where I was going, this musical theater thing, I really like it. I like playing. Honestly, I like playing in the pit orchestra a little bit more for a lot of reasons. But I like musical theater, but I want to check out something else for the summer. So I went to this NYU program for film, and they lost me, though, because there wasn't any film. I walked in expecting to be cutting film and taping it together and all this stuff. And they're like, here's our new computer suite. And I'm like, what's this nonsense? And I was just like, why is this in film? And so then the next summer, I went to a Berkeley summer program, and I was like, okay, so I'm a jazz kid, whatever, sounds good. And so there were these like little pieces in my life, and not to mention like a lot of people's families, I think, movies were really central. I have a couple of really vivid memories with my family of, I remember my dad taking me to see the Care Bears movie. And we had this conversation where he said, you know, the truth is, Shana, I don't like the Care Bears movie. And I was like, what? You don't like? He's like, but I love you. And I want you to go see the movies that you like. So you're right. I have not torn the Care Bears movie apart like I would like to, because it's not a great piece of film, but like, we're here because you love it. And that meant something to me. And I remember going to see an Alien and Aliens double feature as a little person. And being the only little person in the lobby and being like, oh my gosh, because my dad and I had this system. He would tell me when to cover my eyes, and he would tell me when I could uncover my eyes. He made me a RoboCop edit with no violence in it.
Which...
It's got to be 10 minutes long, right?
Yeah.
I would kill to get my hands on that VHS of the baby RoboCop that my dad made for me. My mom would take me for auditions, and she would let me see these films that were made by the people that I was never going to get into these films, right? Like, these were huge open calls. But she was like, well, if we're going to audition for this new Luke Besson movie that they're eventually going to cast Natalie Portman in, right? I didn't even like get anywhere close to that. You should probably see the movie that it was based on, right? So those things were part of my life.
You brought me back to showing my stepson last Halloween.
Okay.
And I told him there was a moment you have to look away because there's boobs. And he went, girl boobs? And just the 7-year-old processing the thought where he's like, I'm just here for Michael Myers first. And what do you mean? So it's just, I love, I just love that moment of just, but that's how we spark that joy. That's how we spark that. Also, you know, Jewish musical theater to film, Barbra Streisand. Hello, thank you for sitting down with me today. I just loved hearing that journey, and you could just tell all that love of art really put you here. Because as much as you run a business, as much as Sunray is a business, it is an art-based business. Cinema exhibition is weird, like you said. It's not like any other business. It's not like anything where you're dealing art, but also having to make money. And that's the studio problem now is, do I pick art or do I pick the blockbuster? And I think that's interesting that you live in that world. You live in that middle ground.
I think there is an art to making sure that all of the movies that people want to see are available to them. There's so many films out there now, right? And we have so many screens. And you look at other cinema chains with lots and lots of screens, and you look at how many times a day they're playing certain titles, and you go, could you fit in other titles? Whether you do or not, is it part of your business model? It's not part of your business model. I'm not going to tell you all how to run your business. But there is an art to making sure that those new releases that wouldn't otherwise come to this market, or if they did come to this market, they'd be buried in no promotion whatsoever, are seen by people. Because you're right, you are dealing art. It's a very approachable art. It is a very affordable art. It is an incredibly inclusive art. But it's art, and there's an art to art.
There's an art to art.
There's art to art.
We should make that the title of this episode. I love that. So we're in Jacksonville. We then moved to Tampa. What drives you, as someone who's lived in Tampa most of my life, why?
Why?
Why Tampa?
Why Tampa? Well, in some ways, it's the same reason I ended up in Jacksonville for so long. Which is that there was an opportunity for us to show movies to people on a scale beyond what Tim had started doing, which was showing movies to people in non-theatrical venues, in nightclub kind of spaces, and in coffee house kind of spaces, and converted warehouse kind of spaces. There's only so far you can get, even if you have the best movie that everybody wants to see, in those kinds of spaces. And not to mention, you can't be showing new blockbuster releases in those kinds of spaces, even if you have built.
I would love to see, Thunderbolts in a coffee house, but
but that's not how it works. And so this property became available is the simple answer. So the property that we were operating out of in Jacksonville over 13 years sold, and the new property owners did not want to renew our lease. So that put us on a mission to find, on a little bit of a faster time frame, our second location. We spent much of those 13 years aiming for another location.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at properties in Jacksonville that would need to be built out into movie theaters, and that's really hard to talk a developer into doing when you're a teeny tiny company. We looked at, and we were just talking about this, and it makes me so sad. There was this movie theater out by the Jacksonville airport that was one of the lowest grossing theaters in the city, and it was owned by a big box company, and they were not going to continue their operations in that space. And so we put our name in the hat to say, hey, we'll take this over as a movie theater. And the company that owned the property said, absolutely not. We're a publicly traded company. We're not putting your teeny tiny movie theater in there. And by the way, we're going to knock it down and turn it into a big discount store.
Oh.
So, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So,
fine.
Fine. So all of those conversations were going on while we were operating the Sunray in Jacksonville. The hope was that we would open up another location in Jacksonville or in St. Augustine or in an area around there and continue to operate the Jacksonville location. But that's not how it went down. So we lost our lease. We ended operations in that property in July. Somewhere around August is when we started, and this is 2024, we started talking to the CEO of Look Cinemas. And we said to him, like we had said to the big
the box one,
several other companies, hey, looks like you're not using this movie theater. Would you like to transfer your lease over to us? And Look has, I don't know how many theaters at this point, 30-something cinemas all over the country. This one in Florida, a lot in California, a lot in Texas, some in the Northeast. And this just wasn't one that they were necessarily wanting to include in their future. And so we talked to them. They said they were interested. We talked to the owners of the property. They said they were interested. We spent 3 months negotiating. And then this became ours. In that meantime, we talked to another couple of properties, one in Merritt Island, one in Orlando. Those were both good options for a lot of reasons. Tampa won for many reasons. A part of it is just that we worked out the deal the fastest. Another deal wasn't going to work out for a very long time. And the third deal I just wasn't thrilled with, and Tim wasn't thrilled with. I think it's so fun. You know, we were talking about this earlier. You have this perception of where you're from and what it offers. I walked into this great city of Jacksonville. I'm like, this place is great because it has so much opportunity. And people who lived and grew up in Jacksonville were like, what on earth are you talking about? And I'd say, no, but look at this. We have this movie theater here. I'm teaching kids. I love teaching. I'm having a great time. They let me do whatever I want in schools. Everybody's doing wonderful. So like Jacksonville has opportunity. But when you're in it, you don't see it that way. I'm from New York. I love New York. I could have stayed in New York. And I said, you know what? I want to check out what life is like other places. And so that's what brought me to Jacksonville. And so Tampa, from outside, from this lady's perspective, it looks like a place of incredible opportunity. And I'm super thankful that it's here.
I love that you said Tampa won, because we did having you here. I think Sunray is just, it's a breath of fresh air here. I think, you know, as a film critic, that is what, if my audience here does not know, that is what I do outside of here. I'm a film critic. And, you know, we've been to the same cinemas a lot. And I think I've been wanting a cinema like yours. I've been wanting something that feels welcoming to the weird kids, welcoming to the blockbuster kids. All these people who come together because, again, like you said, it's a communal experience. This is this weirdest thing that we all come together to be scared or to laugh. You know, there's not many places we do it. Theater, you know, live stage, Broadway is one of the other places that this gets to happen. And as a wrestling fan, we also get to cheer. But again, I love that feeling. I love being together with people. And that was something I feel lost with Maze. You talked about this. For years, I was an art film fan. I loved my French horror films, Martyrs and Inside and Frontiers. They weren't playing those in a movie theater. I couldn't find Ginger Snaps in 2003, this Canadian werewolf horror movie. I couldn't find that in cinemas. So I became a DVD kid, almost to the point where I stopped being a movie theater kid. I was also sometimes not, you know, hot tape trading. My friend had this audition, so I'll trade you audition for this movie. I came from that world. So hearing a cinema that also wants to highlight this makes me so happy. What are your challenges, though? You're coming into a new area. You know, I want to be positive. I want to say how much fun you're having. What are just some challenges that I don't think people would expect? Maybe someone who wants to be in your position.
So challenges specific to this space that I couldn't see from the outside initially, and maybe you've heard this because you've been in Tampa longer. I hear the mall's knocked down already. I hear we're under a pile of rubble as we speak.
This is a zombie mall for so many people.
This is a zombie mall.
Which is, again, since I was in high school, which is a long time ago now, University Mall's gone. It's gone. It's gone. But it won't go. And I'm glad because, again, we need this. So I think that's so funny that you said that it's a challenge because that's been like that since I was in high school.
Right. And that perception is a challenge. If this was not a challenge, we wouldn't be having this conversation, EJ, right? If things were just all ducky over here, then nobody would be leaving their lease and nobody would be saying, oh, we're going to transfer this lease to this teeny tiny couple. No one would be doing that.
Yeah.
And so that's a challenge. I think that the way that movie theaters have evolved at the same time as this university component transitioned to uptown rhythm, all of those things happening at the same time, it contributes to that perception. Everybody's growing collections of media at home and perception of media at home contributes, but I don't think that it's nearly as challenging. Half as challenging, a fraction as challenging as the fact that we have a movie theater behind a pile of rubble that looks like it needs to be knocked down.
Yeah.
That's a reality.
Yeah.
But it's not that it's not coming down. It's that stuff really takes time. And to have the vision to know that that evolving the space in this way takes time is a challenge when you've had so many decades at this point of this perception. And so we're lucky. We have these giant Hollywood blockbusters that we're playing. We're playing the very same brand new Lilo and Stitch as everybody else. You just have to find your way here. But you know what, man? I went over to that AMC West Shore. That place is buried, like way in the back
That's
of the mall.
another mall that's supposedly dying as well.
Oh my gosh, I can't find you, AMC West Shore. Oh, I know why. They don't pick up the phone. So, you know, that is part of the architecture of movie theaters and malls, and has been for a long, long time. It's put the movie theater at the back. They really don't need the frontage. So people who go to movie theaters often know that they're going to have to drive to the back of the mall.
It's even like that in California.
It's just what you have to do, right? But if you're already dealing with, oh, and I heard they're knocking that mall down, then it's like, well, I don't even know how to drive past this disruption. And so that's a little bit of a challenge. And I think the perception that a lot of people have that's not unjustified, that the last time they went to the movies somewhere, anywhere, they got lousy service. The light was on overhead. The cleaning lights were on while they were trying to watch the movie, and they told somebody about it and the person didn't do anything, or the sound was really loud, or the sound was really quiet, or their food tasted terrible, or they didn't even get any food when they ordered food and they couldn't get their money back. And like all of those things that bigger operators can get away with have made it so that people don't have a great perception of what it's like to go to the movies right now. The great news is they really want to.
Yeah, there's a generation, I think that's why, you know, you being so close to a college, I want you to speak to these kids again, because that's also the age group that I feel like is missing a bit at the movie theater. I feel like the younger bloods love it and 30 plus love it. I just feel like we're missing, which we all call that 18 to 34 demo. I feel like a lot of them are missing sometimes.
I feel like that's a real strong component in our business, even right now.
Good. Okay, good.
I really do. I feel like young people really, I don't want to paint with too broad a brush. A lot of young people really like to do the opposite of what other people tell them is going on. And so I meet a lot of people who go, oh my gosh, look at me. My mom doesn't go to the movies. I'm going to the movies. I'm like, bully for you, man. That's great. So I do meet a lot of young people. The USF crowd is a joy to work with. And they're coming in big droves to all kinds of movies. The one that blew me away at first was that we opened Minecraft, and it was almost entirely college students at opening night. That was fantastic.
As someone who saw it and loved it myself, it was
thrilled. I was really thrilled. So not only are we getting younger demographics like you're talking about, they're not fitting in a box. They're not just coming for what's perceived as art.
The big Marvel movie
or the big Marvel movies or anything at all. They're really coming to all different movies. Why? Because our tickets are $6 if you go to USF. Every day of the week.
Wow.
They're $5 on Tuesdays. So people are coming in really big numbers. And then the other days of the week, I got to be realistic. I think any age bracket, I think this crosses all ages, all socioeconomic factors, every kind of factor that you have. Everybody loves a bargain. Absolutely everybody. Rich people love a bargain the most. And so our most expensive ticket is $10. That's in the evening on a weekend.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. And that is what makes it so that those demographic pieces aren't as big of a barrier as that. We got some signs that need to change. Things like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing. It's just, it feels like inside you guys are so prepared. It's just those little outside things that we just need to fix to get you guys to where you need to be, because it is such a beautiful space. You have such a beautiful energy for this. Again, your passion for movies. Now let's get out of business. We've had enough business talk.
Okay.
I want to ask you, what is a movie you would love to see played at Sunray Cinema? Just any movie you can pick. Just you can have a fun, or in general, is there just a maybe events you want to start having? Just maybe you want to do, because my goal is I've always wanted to see Jaws in the cinema. That's my favorite movie of all time. I want to see Jaws in a movie theater. So maybe we'll set something up one day. So, but no, is there something that you think that could bring in maybe more attention, maybe an older film or an older series or something like that? What's a good way of getting people in, but also whetting your appetite of what you want to see as well?
So before I forget, we play Jaws every 4th of July that we are able to do so. I don't know about this 4th of July because it's going to be the 40th anniversary, so it'll probably be closer to the end of August based on their rollout. But okay, what do I want to see? This is so hard because if I really want to see something, if I really think that it's going to bring lots of people in, I just roll over and I look at the programmer and I say, Tim, can we play such and such? And we've done it, right? So it's a challenging question. And on top of that, I was thinking about this question. One of my very favorite movies in the whole world is Hedwig and the Angry Inch. One of my very favorite directors is John Cameron Mitchell. That man is coming to do a live commentary over Hedwig and the Angry Inch this weekend, right? So that's just my life right now.
That's right? All you could ask for, really.
What else what thing would I like to see? I'd like to see more experimental films on 16 millimeter that people are coming to in droves because they know about them. But that's not. We can put that on any time. I just get to do it. It's really hard to answer that, but I hope that.
You gave me an answer with Hedwig. That's just such a great thing. No, I love that you said you can do it. And I think that's a mentality that you won't get at the bigger chains. Maybe you can get, I will say, there is an AMC by my house that plays a lot of Indian cinema, and I'm always so happy. Even if it's not a movie I want to go see, I'm always like, what do you mean you have 2 showings of this Indian movie that nowhere else has? So I love to see that you guys are also one of those people who are just like, what do you want? What does the people want? And you're going to give it to us. Because, I'm seeing The Sinners box office on Mondays are insane. I love to see that. Also, like you said, our movies are spreading out too. Your businesses, Mondays are big sometimes. Tuesdays are big. Some Tuesdays in America has really become a movie day, I think. I think some of the other places doing the $5 and things like that have really made Tuesday just the random movie day of the week now.
It's so neat how the perception is we get what we want as audiences, right? When what it really is that just programmers who are looking ahead, they are able to see on the calendar what you're going to want. And they put it in. They've heard about it just a little bit before you. And then if they've got a marketing team that's doing their job, then they get to tell you about it. And so it feels like it's being tailored for you. And that's why all of these people have this sense of the movie theater being their place. Yeah. And not just this movie theater. Everybody with their own movie theaters, if they still have a movie theater in their town, feel this sense of it being their place. Even if they're mad at it. Even if they're like, man, I went and I sat down and there was a bunch of popcorn in my cup holder. And then this dude was like snoring. And like they still keep going. And at a certain point, I don't know if exhibitors lose that trust that the moviegoers have put in them because the movies keep coming out and they're not bad. No. They're great movies. The movies are staying good. And so that's why I feel like we're in this special position right now in Tampa to show any other city that wants to see it how you can do film exhibition in a big space with small personal values. I want to close the interview right there because that is a perfect that is a perfect way to do it. Because again, I love big space, small personal values. That's exactly what we want. As a movie fan, as a movie critic, as an entertainment journalist, you just preached everything that we want. We write op-eds about what we want. Nicole Kidman said we came to this place for magic, for what you're saying. So I love that you are able to just have that passion. And I want Sunray to just have a beautiful time here. I think it's going to just have a big ray of sunshine to it. So, Shana, thank you so much for speaking with me today. I could do this. We need a part 2 of this interview where we could just talk about goofy, fun stuff now. We'll get out of the business talk. We had enough business. So thank you. And thank you all for joining me today for On the Grid. My name is EJ Moreno. Make sure you guys tune in to another episode to see someone else who's spotlighting our wonderful Tampa area.